Hey everybody, welcome. Today we are going to be looking over how to make some characters in D&D Beyond and specifically what you should be doing and the easiest way to get that done for making a character for my game. So today I'm not going to be on cam, as everything we're doing is going to be on the computer here. I want to maximize that vision that you see that. Um, and so in doing so, I've got my camera off today. So luckily, you don't get to see my half-orc face this morning. But we are going to go through and do a little bit of character creation this morning. And the reason why I wanted to do that is number one, I do things a little bit differently. I've got some house rules that allow you to um, add in some extra feats along with your ASIs. So not only do you normally get your normal ASI, but with me, you get the feat plus the ASI. And the reason I do that is because for a long time I've always been told as a DM that, oh, anything past tier 2 play is just worthless in D&D. It's so unbalanced, it's so impossible. You just can't do anything with it. And me as a DM, I've really tried to challenge that in a way that feels appropriate. And what I mean by that is, I've always tried to find a way to, I guess, overpower my characters, but still make my games feel really fun. So typically, I really have high level gameplay with lots of items and all that stuff. But that's not something you encounter with normal games. So today I wanted to kind of walk through just a quick rundown of how to make the characters and what you're looking for and what that looks like. So first and foremost, if we go back, I use the standard character creator. Some of you might use the pre-made. Some of you might do whatever. All of that's the same. It all pretty much gets you to the same place here. On this home screen here, there is a couple of things you want to check off. First and foremost, I have some homebrew stuff that is not always allowed in all of my games. Some of it's for different games, some of it's for my Theros specific game. It all really depends. So, what you're going to do to start off is click off homebrew. And then everything else, as far as I go, you can click it all on. Some of the things won't always match up. Some of the Drakenheim spells aren't going to be relevant for our games. So I would say things like that. You probably don't need to add them in, but hey, if you want to add them in, get them added in there. Doesn't matter to me at all. Additionally, your optional features. You don't have to. I highly suggest that you click all of these on. This is going to be a fun way to actually create the character you want. I don't believe too much in restrictions making for a good game. I believe the more control and power you have, the better the game's going to be. Pretty much. Additionally, your hit point type. This is where if you want to use manual hit points, you can switch over here. I always use fixed because I'm lazy and don't care. Last but not least, on this particular screen, the last thing you really need to pay attention to is character privacy. In order for your character to work with my game, I have to have you set on public. And the reason for that is my importer uses your D&D Beyond character profile, but it has to pull it from the online profile. So if it's set to private or campaign only or anything other than public, my importer cannot see it. All right, so let's go over to race. Now I allow any race that's been printed in the books, anything that you have access to, anything that you even want to look at as far as third party things. I'm a-okay. This is pretty much pick your favorite. PYF. Um, for me, honestly, my favorite is Leonins. A nice second up past that is Elves. And then third would probably be Loxodons or Turtles. That's kind of a crapshoot between those. But mostly me as a person, I really like the anthropomorphic races. Um, if we go back, one more thing I want to teach to you about this home screen, which it will be available past on your description screen and some other things as well, is your picture. When you get into games with me, if you are in a one shot with me and you wanna send me art that you want to use, instead of sending it to me, you can simply come in here and choose whatever file you want to upload. Upload that file. Once you do, it's going to ask you to confirm it. Click the set portrait button here, and that's how you'll set your portrait. Then once I import you into our game, that all comes with, and that is what your token will look like. All right, now moving off to classes. Now, I like to do things a little bit differently. So, per my rules, you will come to my Discord and you will roll stats. Now, I'm going to switch us over to the Discord real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to roll us some stats, and we're just going to use those for now. So the stats are going to be in Avre's dump zone. And if you come in here and type in !rand care, and that's essentially the beginning of random character. If you type that in, what that's going to do is that's going to give you a roll. Now, you'll notice this roll came out pretty pathetic. Typically, rule of thumb for me for any of my games is if it's less than a 62, which is the standard array, you may re-roll it. Now, if you're re-rolling 12 times, we're running a little over there. If you just have a couple to re-roll, then by all means, re-roll them. So for this 64, we're going to re-roll that. That's terrible. 73 isn't awesome also, but I typically allow you 3 rolls. So let's get our 3 out and pick one. I am going to re-roll that 60. The 71 I'm all right with. But that 60-something is pathetic. Oh, and look. The D&D gods have shined on us today. So, okay. What we're going to do is we're going to head back to our character creator here. And looking at our stat array here, what we have is 2 16s, a 15, a 14, and 2 12s. That's a pretty freaking awesome roll. Talk about luck. Should have spent that on a lotto ticket. So what we're going to do with this class, that's a lot of really high stats for 3 different stats. So what I'm actually going to do, since this is such a mad character here, we're going to just put this into a paladin. Because where else would you use points that you get? So we'll start off with 16 in strength, 16 in charisma, not wisdom, excuse me, and a 15 in con. Okay, now next for our wisdom, we'll throw that in the 14 because, well, we're a paladin. We've spent lots of time worshiping and understanding. And then additionally on your ability screen here, if you... Oh, I lied to you because we haven't picked a race. So let's go back and let's pick a race. And since we're going to be a paladin with this high multiple attributes here, we're going to go Leonin. Because who doesn't want to be a giant lion paladin? Alright. So, with Hunter's Instincts, we'll get to choose proficiency and a skill here. And typically, since this is going to be a paladin, I'm actually going to throw this on my athletics. Additionally, I would also say perception and survival is a pretty good one to go with as well. But let's go back to the class. Okay, so for this particular character, just for the sake of having something to build here, we're going to build a level 13 character. So in order to do so, you'll drop your little drop down to the 13 here. And now you'll notice some other things fill in. Now this is where we kind of get into the important stuff. First and foremost, when I'm creating any type of character, and I'm not the perfect example of this because I kind of, at heart, I'm more of a min-maxer than I am a role player. But I would love to be that role player at heart. I'm just, when it comes down to actually doing it, I find myself wanting to min-max more than often. So, when min-maxing, the first thing I like to do is, after choosing a class, I'm going to start doing some research onto what subclass I want. For this particular build, we're going to go Oath of Conquest because, well, we're a giant Leonin, and why not build off of that fear factor there. Okay, so now that we have our oath chosen, I want to choose my proficiencies. So we know that I am proficient in athletics already. Next best thing would be persuasion. That's something I'm really already naturally great at as a paladin. And then insight, intimidation, medicine, and religion. Now, we're already persuasive. My best points would be spent into intimidation. This is the min-maxer in me, but in certain situations, when playing a character, I may have a reason, my Oath of Conquest paladin has a bit of a soft spot for healing his friends. So I might take the healer feat, but I might also put myself proficient in medicine. And in doing so, that's where you'll do that here. So after selecting my proficiencies, I'm going to go down to my fighting style. Now, for this particular character, I would name him Grexis. I kind of have a soft spot for Grexis Leonin Paladins. It's been someone I've played in several games. Absolutely love it. But what I would tell you about Grexis is he's a bit of a blessed warrior. And what I mean by that is when choosing my fighting style, I will choose Blessed Warrior. And the reason I choose this is for a couple of reasons. Number one, as a paladin, you never get cantrips. So to have a secondary resource that is essentially a ranged action is invaluable, to say the least. Second of all, being an Oath of Conquest paladin, it's important to have my charisma score up for casting spells and other things. So on this particular paladin, using cantrips as my ranged attack is going to be the way to go. Additionally, clerics get a spell here called Word of Radiance. It is actually a cantrip that is I think it's one of the only cantrips that can actually affect multiple people. So for bang for your buck, as far as like damaging spells, especially damaging cantrips, you can't go wrong with Word of Radiance on a paladin. Word of Radiance, you utter a divine word and burning radiance erupts from you. Each creature of your choice that you can see within range must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or take 1d6 radiant damage. Now, that doesn't sound phenomenal, but when you think about your paladin being that frontliner, and you think about in the moment where you might have 2 or 3 little goblins or whatever you're fighting, you might have a couple of enemies stacked around you. Being able to use Word of Radiance in that moment is probably going to net you more damage than you would have with your even 2 attacks and smite potentially. So do not ever, uh, don't ever really discount Word of Radiance. Additionally, the best kept secret for clerics, we all know, is Toll the Dead. Reason Toll the Dead is an awesome spell is because typically it does 1d8 necrotic damage. Nothing too crazy. But if the target is missing any of its hit points, it takes 1d12 instead. Now, 1d12 is wild, especially on Toll the Dead. That's a ranged attack. Most targets are going to be missing some hit points at some point or another, especially round 2 or 3 in combat. Odds are you've got a pretty good chance that somebody's taken a hit point of damage. And if you're doing that, I mean, 3d12 by the time you're level 12 is pretty bananas, especially for that being your ranged attack as a paladin. Pretty bonkers. Okay, so this is where things for me get a little hairy. So typically how I do this, since I give you the ASI plus the feat, I tend to make this easy on myself. Your ability score improvements here, I always take as the ASI. So all of these will standard go to ability score improvement. And why I do this is because this is the easiest way to up these skills without going back into the abilities tab and putting on manual modifiers. So I'm going to show you exactly how I do this, because this, I think, shakes out pretty well. Well, before we get in any further, we do need to put on my ability scores for the races. If you go into your race and go into your origin manager, this here is where you choose the different origin managers and your ability score increases. So, going back to this, let's up our strength and constitution. Okay, so now going back to the class, we need to finish putting our ASIs out. Okay, so now going to the ability screen, I should be at 20 charisma, 18 con, and 18 strength. That's not bad. I'm feeling pretty happy about where this particular character is at. Now, I know what you're asking. Josh, Dads, whatever you want to call me. Where the hell are you going to add these feats? And pardon my language, but that's the easiest thing of all. So, if at this point, after you've done your ASIs, you say, before I get any further, I absolutely need to add in my feats. What you're going to do is go up to the top here. I'm going to have you go to this far character sheet. You're going to click on the character sheet. From there, we're going to go down to the Features and Trait tab. From this tab, you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. Down at the bottom, you're going to see Feats. Then you're going to click the Manage Feats button. And then from here, you can go through and add in exactly what you want. So we have 3 feats to use, because every ASI, you get the ASI plus the feat. So, first and foremost, my Paladin's tough. So we're going to add tough. Next up, well, he's a martial character. So you got to do the thing that all martial characters do. And you got to choose and modify your damage. So for this particular character, we are going to go Great Weapon Master. He's a bit of a great sword lover, if you know what I mean. Now, I told you earlier, this particular character also has a little bit of a tinge for healing. So we are going to add in healer trait. Now that we've added the 3 different feats we want, 1, 2, 3, we're going to collapse this box, and we are going to go back to the builder. Okay, so now back in the builder, we are on Paladin. We have finished our ASIs. We have added our feats. Next thing up, we are going to go to the optional features manager. This is the same thing like underneath the race. You are going to add in the additional Paladin spells. If you would like, I greatly suggest it. Added harness divine power, and then if you would like, additionally, go ahead and add in your martial versatility. Um, Martial versatility I never use. Some people really like it. Some people think it's a waste. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Me personally, Paladin is one of my favorite classes. So I genuinely don't believe there is anything at all that can be done um, or added to the Paladin that I'm gonna think is bad. Next up for spells. Now, uh, again, the min-maxer in me tells me, okay, I need to offset my Great Weapon Master -5, so I'm going to want to bless. Additionally, I'm a bit of a cure hound, so I want cure wounds. Next up, it's my job to dish out damage, so I'm probably going to want divine favor. As a first level spell, this is one of the most phenomenal uses for a paladin. Divine Favor allows you 1 minute concentration spell that gives you an extra 1d4 damage on all hits. Um, Absolutely fantastic. This is a great way if you have. If there's not a particular target that needs a lot of Nova damage, if you've got a lot of little guys spread out across your dungeon, Divine Favor is a great spell to help you start knocking down those teams because you don't have to waste that first level spell on smites, and it'll last you the whole combat. And you're doing that extra damage to everybody you hit rather than just that Nova damage to knock down the big bad guy. And then next up, I would like a little protection on myself, Great Weapon Master. I'm getting rid of shields and stuff like that. So I need to be able to turn around and protect myself some way, somehow. Now, again, that's just the min-maxer in me, so I am going to go Shield of Faith. From here, if we're being really honest as a paladin, if I'm not riding a steed into battle constantly, I don't really care at all. Not even a little bit. From here, I am going to anything that says the word smite, it's obligatory to be added for me. Additionally, I will throw out a Prayer of Healing every now and again. As a utility spell, Prayer of Healing is unbelievably helpful. Here's going to be my hot take for the day. So I know a lot of people really love Aura of Vitality. I do agree it is a pretty great spell. Me personally, I would never ever use it in a game. The reason I say that is because I think out of all the ways in D&D that healing is used, I think healing is best used as a triage. And if it's not used as triage, then I really would implore you to use a life cleric. Anything healing besides a life cleric is you're doing it very wrong. Or I should say that's at least my opinion of it. Again, I'm a moron. So please do not take anything I have to say to heart here. Okay, so now adding all of my smites, we're at 10 of 11. This comes back down to another pick your favorite. Of course, you can choose the last staggering smite. Typically, if we're being really honest, I'm actually gonna swap out staggering smite typically for a searing smite. Searing smite isn't bad. The problem I have with searing smite is fire damage is resisted quite often. So I don't want to I want to get rid of that, and we'll replace that with staggering smite. Now, again, in this particular moment, me as a min-maxer is going to point you towards Crusader's Mantle. As a paladin, my job is to do Sustained damage and great burst Nova damage. Crusader Mantle is going to help you and all your allies up that sustained damage over time. It's a great spell. I don't think it's utilized near enough. It's essentially Divine Favor, but as an aura. Think of Divine Favor, now think about giving it to everyone around you in a 30-foot radius. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so now we've tackled all our spells. Our paladin's looking pretty beefy, you know. Good charisma, good strength, good constitution. Now you're asking, okay, background. So on my backgrounds, this is where things get a little muddy. Me as a min-maxer, now I will build out my background for who I am. So I would believe this particular character, Grexis, is got to be someone who was in the military. He was someone who took care of people around him. While he's a great warrior, he does have a bit of a soft heart. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through all backgrounds, and I'm just going to try and figure out, man, how might I fit this in? And sometimes it's not always perfect. Sometimes it's terrible. Sometimes I've really got to reach out to a DM and say, hey, this is getting pretty muddy. Is this water too muddy? Most DMs are going to kind of work with you and let you go off things. So for Grexis, let's just say that I was once a knight. Now, backgrounds are important, and backgrounds aren't used near enough. Here is one thing I would really like to say. Backgrounds are not used enough. One of my favorite backgrounds, real quick before we go any further, is Orzhov Representative. Excuse me. Something I've loved about Orzhov Representative is not so much background itself, or Orzhov Representative also gives you additional spells to choose from, so that's pretty awesome. But what I really love is this leverage feature. These background features are not used enough. If you are a min-maxer, please go through all these backgrounds. Look at what there is available here. Leverage is a feature. I had a elemental... Oh gosh, what's the best way to say this? I had a druid of Circle of Wildfire Turtle. His name was Jappa. He was part of the Orzhov representatives, but he was more of a sort of bounty hunter for them. As he came into different towns, we would use his leverage feature to get access to underground trade unions, all sorts of different things. It's something that I cannot say enough good things about. Background features are really overlooked, but they can be an extreme source of power. So now that I've kind of given you that, let's go back to night. You're going to want to walk through the basic background, and you're going to kind of want to decide how this background pieces your story into where you are today. So for this particular adventure, you being above level 10, you're a very, very powerful and well-known individual across the whole globe. I wouldn't care what anybody says. A level 10 adventurer is well known. It's a celebrity to any effect. So through here, again, a couple more choices, couple more skill proficiencies. This one you get a tool proficiency. Now, the tools I am going to say I am a little disappointed in. You don't use them near as much as I would like, and they don't really have a value that gets added too much. What they are, though, is really, really fun role-play tools. Playing card sets, anything like that. Maybe you're a chess... Oh, man. Maybe you're just some kind of card shark. Maybe you're a chess master. Maybe you're... maybe you're a guy who used to steal from people back in your you know, your street gutter phase, lots of things you can do with the tools. Unfortunately, not a whole heck of a lot of it is utility based, but some of it can be really, really awesome role play features. So as you go through, you'll finish out your background, things like that. Now, the equipment. The equipment is where things get a little muddy. So, typically, in this particular build, we are building this character for a theoretical one-shot. So in any of my one-shots, I have a point-buy system that you can use for items. Now, basic point buy goes as such. Let me pull it up here. Okay. Point buy for items goes as such. Uncommons are worth 4 points. Rares are worth 6 points. Ultra rares are worth 12 points. Legendaries are worth 18. And artifacts are worth 26 points. So on a adventure like this, where you're level 12, you're going to have 15 points available to you. And so what that means is you're going to come in here, you're going to choose what you normally would choose, okay? You come through here, you choose all your little touches and things like that. Now next, we're going to look at what we've got. So we've got 15 points available to us. And what that will get us is 1 ultra rare or 2 uncommons and a single rare. Now, for this paladin, I think it would be most useful to help out his channel divinity and all these other things that he's going to be using fairly frequently. So what we're going to look for first is the Amulet of the Devout. And the reason I want this is not only does this boost our spell attacks and the saving throws, DCs of the spells, which again, as a blessed warrior, you will be using your cantrips from time to time. This is unbelievably useful. And the second use of a channel divinity, not only for harnessing your divine power to gain spell slots back, but additionally as the channel divinity alone, it's incredibly powerful. So to get a second use of that every short rest is mind-blowing. So we're going to add that one. Next up, as a paladin, first thing I would really like to find would be some plate. Plate armor is the number one thing that any martial character can benefit from most. Now, I only have 2 uses of 2 uncommons left, so the best thing I can get is either mithril or adamantine. Mithril is great, but as a paladin, I'm never really going to stealth. I understand what I'm good at, and I understand what I'm bad at. Stealth is not the thing I'm good at, so unless I've got a pass without a trace, we're not sneaking in anywhere. I promise you that. So we're going to take that adamantine plate, because the ability to just say no to a crit, that feels really awesome. And then next up, we should look at Greatsword. And since, again, we only have access to uncommons left, our best bet here is going to be a +1 Greatsword. What that's going to do is that's at least going to give us the ability to overcome that magical resistance there. All right. And so here we are, everybody. You now are staring at a finished character sheet here. This has everything on here. The only thing I will tell you that you will need to do, if for any reason there's any items that you need to attune to, you'll need to come down to your inventory tab, scroll all the way to the bottom, and then you'll need to attune to it. Once you do that, that'll give you all the different bonuses and stuff like that. So right now my save DC is 20. If I unequip that amulet and go back, brings it back down to 18. Now if I equip it again, I've got to go reattune to it. And then once you're reattuned, then it gives you the bonuses again. And I think that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to do this quick run through, and I know it wasn't that quick because I sat here and talked all of your ears off until they bled. But the reason why I wanted to do this is sometimes it's just super easy to get in here and get confused about where you're supposed to be or what you're supposed to be doing. So I wanted to just go over everything and give you a quick rundown of how I do everything. This is pretty quick, easy. If you guys have any questions, concerns, if you have a better way to do this, please, 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 please absolutely drop me a message. I would love to know. Oh man, I'd love to know how I can do this better. I'd love to know how I can do everything better. So please, 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 if you have any suggestions, if you want to see anything, feel free to reach out. And we will see you next time, guys. Thanks so much.